right now, I mean, like right at this exact second, there is this totally invisible biological ecosystem that is just thriving on the underside of your dining room table.
Yeah, it's a deeply unsettling thought when you actually stop and think about it.
And according to environmental psychologists, even if you can't consciously see it, your brain is it's actively tracking it, and it's driving up your stress hormones while you're literally just trying to sit there and eat your dinner.
Right, because we usually think of stress as having this very clear narrative cause, like, a deadline at work or a conflict with a friend.
An overdue bill or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the cognitive load of our physical environment is just constantly running in the background.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are looking at a really fascinating collection of articles and service guides from Red Apple Cleaning, which is a professional cleaning company based out in the Las Vegas and Henderson area.
Yeah, and the material is super interesting.
It really is. But our mission today isn't just to, give you a basic checklist for mopping your floors. We are doing a deep dive into the hidden psychology of clutter, the surprisingly aggressive chemistry of kitchen grime, the specific physics of desert dust, and the very real economic toll that dirt takes on your home and your workplace.
Because when you really examine the mechanics of what these professionals are dealing with every single day, it reveals that cleanliness is, well, it's rarely just an aesthetic preference.
Right. It's not just about looking nice for guests.
No, not at all. It is intrinsically tied to our biology, our mental health, and even our physical safety.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because for you listening, this is really a survival guide for modern living. There is this massive gap between just, tidying up your living room and actually executing a microscopic level overhaul of your environment.
Absolutely.
And surprisingly, the impact of that overhaul starts entirely in your brain.
It does. There's this profound physiological response to a dirty home. Clutter, grime, a smudge on the glass. Psychologists often refer to these visual cues as unfinished business.
Unfinished business.
Yeah, and they trigger this very ancient biological response to chaos.
I always just thought I was being like a bit neurotic when a messy kitchen stressed me out, but it's actually a documented phenomenon.
Oh, absolutely. Your brain is essentially this really sophisticated prediction machine. It is constantly scanning your environment to map out exactly what needs to be done to maintain safety, order, and control.
Oh, wow. So it's always working.
Always. So when your eyes scan a room and register, say, a stained carpet or a dusty baseboard or a greasy stove hood, your nervous system logs those elements as pending labor. They become these micro stresses.
So it's like this constant visual nagging. Every time I walk down the hallway, my subconscious is basically adding a new item to this invisible to-do list.
Precisely. And these micro stresses, they accumulate. Day after day, your brain is just absorbing these cues of unfinished business.
And that takes a physical toll, right?
A huge one. Scientists have directly linked chronically cluttered or dirty environments to increased levels of cortisol.
Which is the stress hormone.
Right, our primary stress hormone. Your nervous system basically gets trapped in this state of low-level arousal demanding work from you. And that makes true relaxation chemically impossible.
That makes so much sense. Is having a dirty stove hood or a dusty corner basically the real-world equivalent of leaving too many browser tabs open in your brain? Like it's just constantly draining your background processing power.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy aligns with the actual cognitive science. Those open tabs are literally consuming your mental RAM.
Yes.
You might be sitting on the couch trying to watch a movie, but a fraction of your cognitive load is allocated to, the dust of a TV stand.
Which is why you can never fully focus on the movie.
Exactly. And that is exactly why there is such a visceral physical reaction to a professional deep clean. When you walk into a room that has been meticulously scrubbed, your shoulders literally drop.
Oh my gosh, yes. The physical drop of the shoulders. It is the best feeling in the world.
The browser tabs have been closed by someone else. A deep clean literally removes that mental load.
But I have to ask, because, we all clean, right? If the mental toll of a dirty home is this severe, why doesn't our regular weekend chore routine fix it? Like, we all vacuum, we all wipe down the kitchen island on a Tuesday afternoon. Why doesn't that close the tabs?
Because there's a fundamental misunderstanding of the mechanics of cleaning. Where you're describing wiping a counter, running a vacuum over the center of the rug, that's maintenance.
Right. It keeps the place from looking like a total disaster zone.
Yeah, it's standard cleaning. It deals with loose debris and immediate sanitary needs. But standard cleaning doesn't touch the ingrained bonded dirt.
It's just surface level.
Purely surface level.
Yeah.
A deep clean is the heavy lifting. We are talking about getting down on your knees and hand wiping the grooves of every single baseboard in the house.
Ugh, the base.
Right. It's scrubbing the shower grout with specialized brushes until the orange mildew is completely eradicated from that porous material. It's cleaning the inside of the oven until you can literally see your reflection in the glass.
And this actually brings us to a concept in the material that honestly gave me a bit of pause. They refer to these uncleaned areas as ghost areas.
Yes, the invisible spaces that we just completely edit out of our daily perception.
Right, the spots that contribute to a room just feeling kind of musty or heavy, even if everything looks tidy on the surface, like the tops of door frames.
Or the condenser coils behind the refrigerator.
Deep inside, the sliding window tracks, the interior of your glass light fixtures, and as I mentioned right at the start, the underside of dining room tables and chairs.
Those are classic ghost areas.
Now, I'm going to push back on this a little bit. Does anyone really care if the underside of their dining chair is dusty? I mean, realistically, if I'm not disturbing the dust under the table, isn't it safer just leaving it there sleeping? Is this just like extreme perfectionism?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is absolutely not just perfectionism. And the idea that dust stays sleeping is actually a huge myth of fluid dynamics.
A myth? Wait, really?
Yeah, your home is a living environment. You've got constant airflow from your HVAC system, thermal drafts, physical movement from people walking around. When you ignore those ghost areas, you are essentially providing safe harbor for allergens to just multiply.
Okay, so it's not just dead skin cells sitting there minding their own business.
Far from it. We're talking about gust mites, pet dander, mold spores, and microscopic insect waste.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, these are invisible biological entities that completely thrive in undisturbed dust. And every single time someone walks past that dining chair or opens that sliding glass door, the ambient air currents pull those allergens from the ghost areas and aerosolize them.
So they go airborne.
They go airborne.
And then they end up right in our lungs.
Exactly. This drastically reduces your indoor air quality. If you or your family are experiencing unexplained sneezing, or you're constantly waking up with a scratchy throat or a stuffy nose, it is highly likely that your house is the culprit.
Not the pollen outside.
Right, not the allergy season outside. You aren't just living with dust. You are breathing in the biological byproducts of the ecosystem living inside that dust.
Okay, that is incredibly gross, but the mechanics of it make total sense. It's not static, it's a circulating threat. And nowhere is this invisible buildup more stubborn or, frankly, more sticky than the kitchen.
Oh, the kitchen is wild. Yeah. It's the heart of the home, sure, but chemically speaking, it is an absolute magnet for a very specific, aggressive type of grime. And it all starts with cooking.
Like just making dinner.
Yeah, when you heat oil in a pan, you aren't just heating a liquid, you are actually vaporizing it.
Right, like when you're frying bacon or sautéing vegetables, you can smell it, which means it's physically in the air.
Exactly. That vaporized oil rides the thermal currents in your kitchen right up to the ceiling, the tops of your cabinets, the light fixtures, and the walls. But here is the critical part.
Okay.
As that oil cools down and sits on those surfaces, it reacts with oxygen. It oxidizes and polymerizes.
Polymerizes. What does that actually mean in practical terms, like for the person scrubbing it?
It means the individual fat molecules basically link hands to form a hardened plastic-like mesh.
Wow.
It fundamentally changes from a liquid oil into a stubborn, sticky resin. And once it's in that state, it acts like flypaper.
So it's catching everything.
Everything. It catches all that circulating airborne dust, pet dander, and lint we were just talking about, creating this dense, gray, concrete-like residue.
Which perfectly explains why, when you grab a wet paper towel and try to wipe the top of your fridge, it just smears into a disgusting paste.
It's the worst.
Water doesn't do a single thing to it.
No. Standard household cleaners completely fail here because water and mild surfactants just cannot break those cross-linked polymer bonds. You can scrub until your arm physically aches, but you're really just sliding the resin around.
So what actually works?
To really remove it, you need industrial-grade degreasers with a high pH. Those can chemically dismantle those molecular bonds without, destroying the wood finish of your cabinets.
Which is a delicate balance.
Very. A true deep clean tackles the dishwasher filter, the toaster trays, and those totally unseen sides of the cabinets where this polymerized grease has just been collecting for years.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the sources we're looking at, Red Apple Cleaning, they operate out of Henderson and Las Vegas.
Right.
And their local environment introduces this massive geographic challenge that honestly completely blew my mind. The Mojave Desert environment completely rewrites the physics of how you have to clean a house.
Yet the environmental factor is a crucial variable that most people totally ignore. We don't usually factor in local meteorology when we're trying to figure out why our living room is dusty.
But you have to. I mean, the humidity out there in Nevada is incredibly low, right around like 10 to 30% on an average day.
Which is bone dry.
Right. Compare that to a place like Miami or Atlanta where it's 60 to 80%. I just never realized how much water vapor in the air changes the actual behavior of dirt.
It dictates everything. In a humid climate, dust particles absorb ambient moisture from the air. That moisture makes the individual particles heavy, which means gravity basically takes over and they fall to the ground relatively quickly.
So they just settle on the floor.
Yeah, you can literally just sweep them up off the floor.
But out in the desert?
Well, in a low humidity environment like the Mojave Desert, there is no moisture to weigh the particles down. Combine that with the static electricity that gets generated in dry air, and the desert dust literally repels itself.
That's crazy. So it just bounces off everything?
It stays suspended and airborne for hours, sometimes days.
It just floats like a microscopic fog.
It floats, it infiltrates through the microscopic gaps in perfectly sealed windows and doors, and it coats every single surface in the house within 48 to 72 hours.
That is so fast.
You can execute a flawless deep clean on a Monday, and by Thursday afternoon, the dry desert wind has made it look like you haven't dusted in a month.
I've actually tried dusting out in the Southwest, and I swear it looks worse the next day. Am I just using the wrong tools, or is the environment actually working against me?
If you are using a standard feather duster or just a cheap vacuum, you are absolutely making the problem worse. Because of how light and dry that dust is, a standard vacuum is really just a redistribution machine.
Oh, man.
It sucks the dust up, completely fails to filter the finest particles, and then just exhausts them right back into the air at high velocity.
So you're literally just kicking the sandstorm right back up into your living room. What is the technological countermeasure for that? Because you can't just live in a sandstorm.
No, you can't. And this is where methodology and equipment really matter. Professional cleaners use HEPA filter vacuums.
Right. HEPA stands for high efficiency particulate air.
Correct. And a true HEPA filter isn't just, a paper bag. It's a dense, randomized web of fiberglass fibers designed to capture 99.7% of particles down to 0.3 microns in size.
0.3 microns. That is incredibly small.
It's tiny. It traps the finest desert sand, the pollen, the dust mites. When a HEPA vacuum pulls that air in, it completely removes those particles from the building's ecosystem. You aren't just moving dirt around, you are mechanically extracting it.
That makes a huge difference.
And this pairs with strict cross-contamination protocols. For instance, ensuring the microfiber cloth used to clean the bathroom sink never, under any circumstances, touches the kitchen counters.
Right, because otherwise you're just taking bathroom bacteria on a grand tour of the house.
Exactly. When you synthesize all of this, the chemical degreasers dismantling the polymer bonds, the HEPA extraction of the desert dust, the cross-contamination protocols, you start to realize that modern professional cleaning isn't just wiping surfaces. It is comprehensive environmental management.
Environmental management. I really like that framing. But managing this environment isn't just about breathing easier or, dropping your cortisol levels. It's also about protecting your wallet.
Oh, the economic reality of dirt is something very few homeowners actively calculate. We view dirt as an eyesore, not as a liability.
But it's an active financial depreciation mechanism. Think about the really expensive finishes in a modern home. You've got hardwood floors, granite countertops, brushed nickel fixtures, stainless steel appliances. Grime, hard water, and calcium deposits aren't just sitting harmlessly on top of those surfaces.
No, they are chemically reacting with it.
Right. Calcium permanently etches into glass and stone if you leave it long enough. And granular dirt acts like microscopic sandpaper on your hardwood floor every single time you walk on it in your socks.
It's physical friction. I actually love the analogy often used in property management. A deep clean is like getting an oil change for your house.
That's perfect. You don't change the oil in your car because you want the inside of the engine to look shiny. You do it to prevent catastrophic friction from destroying the pistons. Dirt is friction on your home's materials.
And if you're a renter, this dynamic is the literal barrier between you and your security deposit. Property managers and landlords aren't just looking to see if you vacuumed the center of the living room.
They know better.
They are checking the ghost areas. They're looking for dust on the door frames, hard water stains on the shower tracks, or, crumbs inside the fridge's crisper drawer.
Because they know that surface dirt in those hidden areas basically indicates a deeper systemic neglect of the property's materials.
Exactly. Now, if we scale this concept up to the commercial level, the economic stakes become even higher, and the narrative really changes.
Sure.
For a retail business or an office space in Las Vegas, a pristine space equals brand trust. It signals operational competence before an employee even says hello.
But if dirt is a financial liability in a home or a retail store, it takes on a much darker role in a medical clinic. There, it literally becomes a biological weapon.
This raises an important question about how we view the invisible threats in our public spaces. In a clinic, a dental practice, or an outpatient surgical center, a smudge on a chair isn't an eyesore, it is a fomite.
Right, and a fomite being any object or material that actively carries infection.
Precisely. Pathogens don't take breaks. They wait on waiting room chairs, on doorknobs, on the pens you use to sign in, on the clipboards, and they're waiting for vulnerable patients whose immune systems might already be heavily compromised.
And just wiping it down with a wet rag won't cut it?
Not at all. Standard wiping does absolutely nothing to dismantle the cellular walls of these viruses and bacteria.
So in those spaces, proper clinical-grade sanitation is really the only thing that breaks the chain of infection. They call them healthcare-associated infections, or HAIs.
And stopping HAIs requires an entirely different tier of chemistry and procedure. The commercial cleaners operating in these environments, they aren't just maids. The industry actually refers to them as technicians of hygiene.
Technicians of hygiene, I love that.
Yeah, they are operating on the front lines of public health, deploying a very systematic approach to sanitation that protects the workforce, protects the patients, and just keeps the entire operational structure of a business running safely.
Knowing how incredibly high the stakes are, both financially with our property values and biologically with our health, how is a normal person supposed to keep up? I mean, once the professional deep clean is done, how do you maintain a space without totally losing your mind?
It's a daunting thought, for sure, but the key is building small, friction-reducing habits into your daily routine. It's about preventing the accumulation before it requires a major chemical intervention.
Right. Adopting a clean-as-you-go mentality, especially in the kitchen, like wiping down the stove immediately after a meal before that vaporized grease has a chance to cool down, oxidize, and form those really stubborn polymer bonds we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And in the bathroom, the intervention is actually incredibly simple. Use a squeegee in the shower for 30 seconds after the last person finishes.
Just 30 seconds.
That's all it takes. That half minute of effort pushes the mineral-heavy water down the drain before it evaporates. It completely prevents weeks of hard water and calcium buildup from etching into your expensive glass doors and tile.
30 seconds to save your shower glass. That is a return on investment I can definitely get behind. The sources also strongly recommend changing your HVAC filters monthly, especially out in that desert environment.
Absolutely essential.
Since the HVAC system is basically the lungs of the house, a clean filter is the single best way to catch that airborne desert dust before it settles on your furniture.
It's also really worth noting the modern shift toward sustainability in these maintenance practices, because the old methodology of deep cleaning relied heavily on harsh ammonia and bleach.
Oh yeah, the classic chemical headache that just makes your eyes water the second you walk in the room.
Exactly. We used to associate the smell of bleach with safety. But modern cleaning science focuses on products with low volatile organic compounds, or VOCs.
What exactly are VOCs, just for the listener who might be, buying cleaning supplies later today?
Sure, so VOCs are harmful gases emitted from certain chemicals and liquids, things like formaldehyde, benzene, and the harsh fumes you find in standard glass cleaners.
Okay.
They degrade indoor air quality, and they can cause pretty severe respiratory issues. By switching to low VOC or zero VOC products, professional cleaners ensure there are no toxic fumes lingering in the air.
Which is huge for families.
It means you can have a medically sanitized home, but your toddler or your pets can walk on the floors immediately and safely.
The guides also mentioned utilizing microfiber cloths, which physically trap the dirt using microscopic fibers without generating all that paper waste, and using advanced steam cleaners. Steam hits 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which instantly thermal shocks and kills bacteria without needing harsh chemical solvents at all.
It's really about respecting the microenvironment of your home, while also respecting the macroenvironment of the planet. Treating your living space with that level of scientific understanding and respect is ultimately an investment in your own long-term well-being.
So, what does this all mean? When we look at the psychology of clutter, the chemistry of kitchen grease, the physics of desert dust, and the biology of medical clinics, it means that taking control of your home's cleanliness is not just about vanity. It is fundamentally about taking back your time, your health, and your peace of mind.
It's about ensuring your environment is working for you, actively supporting your nervous system, rather than quietly working against you in the background.
I want to leave you with a new way to look at the space around you. Think about the dirt, the dust, and the grime in your home, not as a personal failure on your part, but as a physical manifestation of time. Every layer of desert dust, every calcium deposit on the shower glass, every sticky spot on the kitchen cabinet is just time friction wearing down your space. By executing a true, deep clean, whether you do it yourself or hire a professional, you aren't just making things sparkle. You are literally resetting the clock on your environment. And beyond that, think about the dust in your home not as an enemy, but as evidence that your house is working like a giant respiratory system.
That's a great way to put it.
It's catching the particles, the desert sand, the allergens, so your lungs don't have to. So next time you see a dust bunny, ask yourself, is your house getting dirty or is it just doing its job protecting you? And maybe it's finally time you gave it a little help.